Okay, good morning, kids. It's Saturday morning. Sorry, I meant to get this out last night, but we had some technical difficulties, which I discovered too late for me to want to get it done. It was pretty late. So here we go. Now we're going to approach the end of this war. And in the end of the war, as in all fights, to the victor go the spoils of war. Now, the last couple of days we've been talking about, you did an assignment on America getting into the war. We were neutral for a long time, but then unrestricted submarine warfare plus German provocations such as the Zimmerman telegram convinced Wilson and the American people it was time to get in on behalf of our allies, the British and the French primarily. So in 1917, we conscripted an army. We put together our army. We trained them. And in 1918, we finally went over there to start fighting this war. And by the end of 1918, the war was over. In fact, the war ended on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918. Here we had the cover of the New York Times, armistice signed, end of the war. So this war that had started with the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand finally ended about 4 years later. One word, though, that we might not see is this word armistice. Armistice does not mean that either side actually gave up. The Germans didn't say, I give up. The French didn't say, I give up. It really just means that both sides decided to stop fighting and didn't really technically declare a winner. However, as we're going to find out, the Germans were ultimately blamed for this war. So here we have in the background, you see the men getting together to negotiate the peace at this place called Versailles. Versailles is a massive palace in France, just outside of Paris, France, built by Louis XIV, the Sun King, and as a monument to himself. But here, a couple of hundred years later, these men are meeting in Versailles, at Versailles, I should say, to hammer out the truce. The winners on the one side are the British, the French, and the Americans. Here you see Wilson here, Clemenceau here, and Lloyd George here. That's America, France, and Germany. And the losers are primarily Germany and then Austria-Hungary, I guess. But really, the war was blamed on Germany. Austria-Hungary wasn't even at the table. Here you see the German not the German chancellor, the head of the German political system signing the truce there. So the winners are the Allies, and the loser is Germany, and Germany has to pay. So this is a picture of Versailles. As I said, it was built a few hundred years before this by Louis XIV. He called himself the Sun King. It was a massive palace just outside of France. So Versailles is a place, pronounced Versailles, is a place, a massive palace just outside of Paris. So here the men are, and there you see them there as well. You see Woodrow Wilson of the United States. You see George Clemenceau of France and David Lloyd George of Britain. They come together, they create the truce, and then Johannes Bell of Germany is forced really to sign the truce or agrees to sign the truce. Now, one thing we're going to go over is what happened to the Germans after World War I. Now, when Wilson went in, he proposed something called the 14 points for world peace. That's what he hoped to get done. However, Clemenceau and Lloyd George were angry. They were angry at the Germans. The French and the British people were angry at the Germans for starting this war and killing millions of their sons in the trenches of France and Belgium and Germany. And so they wanted to exact punishment. And so the Treaty of Versailles, unfortunately, did not reflect the desire for world peace that Wilson hoped for in his 14 points. So part number one is the busting up of Germany. In pink here, you have Germany and Austria-Hungary before the war. And then over here on the right side, you'll see after the war. Just to look at it more clearly, if you look, you'll see that was Austria-Hungary and Germany. And now we have all these new countries are created as Germany is broken apart and Austria is broken almost beyond recognition. Creation of Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Yugoslavia, Poland is reestablished, Prussia, Lithuania, and Latvia. So that German Austro-Hungarian Empire is blown away. So Germany loses a lot of land. Now, at the same time, we had mentioned Wilson had a 14-point plan for world peace. Here he is in front of Congress pitching his plan, telling his plan to Congress. This is my plan to establish world peace, so we never have a war like this again. However, despite pitching his 14 points at the Treaty of Versailles, when these gentlemen were in Versailles, they really focused on punishing the Germans. What you're going to do in your assignment is Monday and Tuesday, I'm going to have you look at the 14 points on Monday and ask yourself, is it a desire to establish world peace? Is it desire to establish something called self-determination? Or is it a desire to punish the Germans? Now you'll see there's a distinct difference between Wilson's 14-point plan and the plan that these men here on the left, the French, the Italian, and the British premiers decided to do in the Treaty of Versailles to punish Germany. Now, this gets back to this idea of self-determination. Self-determination means you determine for yourself how you're going to live. Students have self-determination. We live with our parents, unfortunately, so we don't have total self-determination. But what we want to do is we want you to have self-determination. Determine how you want to live your lives yourselves. The same idea applied to the nations of Europe and really the colonies of these industrial empires. Is the desire was to give all these countries of the world the desire for or the right to self-determination. The nations will have the right to choose who rules them. This term is going to be important in the assignment, so please understand what it means so you can use it properly in the assignment. So let's look at the assignment. The assignment is not too much. You have Wilson's 14 points. It's a two-part assignment. On Monday, I just want you to watch the video and go through Wilson's 14 points and determine, was this an effort for world peace, or was it an effort to punish the Germans, or was it an effort to establish self-determination? So you'll see I did the first one. No more secret agreements between countries. Diplomacy shall be open to the world. That would be trying to establish world peace. All right. Number 2, international seas shall be free to navigate during world peace and war. Is that to punish the Germans? Maybe, not so much. Is that for self-determination? It really doesn't mention a country specifically, so it won't be self-determination. Is it for world peace? Well, they shall be free to navigate for peace and war. So I'm going to say this one is world peace. Okay. And then just go down all the remaining 12 items of his 14-point plan and try to label in here whether it's punish the Germans, world peace, or self-determination. All right. If you want to look up self-determination, you can click on it and go there. And on Tuesday, what I want you to do is analyze the Treaty of Versailles. And this is the Treaty of Versailles. So the Treaty of Versailles was a little bit different, really a lot different than the 14-point plan, but the same questions. Were each of these points of the treaty designed to establish self-determination, designed to establish world peace, or was it intended to punish the Germans? Here, the first one, Germany had to accept total responsibility for starting the war. So we wrote in here, punish the Germans. All right, let's go down here a little bit, try to find one. Here, number 10 is going to be self-determination shows up, so it's probably self-determination. If it has to do with creating a country and creating a nation that lives independently, it's going to have to do with self-determination. Okay, so that's your assignment. Look in the Google Classroom. You'll see it in there. And again, on Monday, you're going to do Wilson's 14 points. And on Tuesday, you're going to do Treaty of Versailles. All right, take it easy.